Here it is, the big kahuna, the big daddy, because today we are giving you 5 quick strategy tips that anyone can employ to improve your game when it comes to Gloomhaven. This is one of the first tips that I received as a new Gloomhaven player oh so long ago, and it was invaluable just to help me conceptualize what I really wanted to do on a turn. And that is to pair a low-numbered initiative card with a high-number initiative card when selecting the cards from your hand. Now, of course, like everything in Gloomhaven, that's the right thing to do, except when it's not. But for the most part, it's more advantageous to go sooner, but also many of your more powerful cards are going to be cards that would have you going last. By mixing the two, you're removing a bunch of the slow cards from your hand, so you're not ending up stuck with like an 85 and an 82 initiative as the only things that you can play. And it gives you a lot of value as far as bang for your buck in executing your actions. And the other thing that I really like about this is that Gloomhaven, especially for new players, can be really overwhelming to kind of think about what you should be doing on your turn. Strategy is going to be important, but just having a helping guide as far as a way to organize your thoughts when it comes to the cards in your hand gives you a lot of direction. Second, longevity is paramount. And I'm not just talking about your health and your ability to survive the onslaught of various opponents that you're going to have to deal with. I'm talking about being able to play cards, because your hand itself and the ability to recover those cards is a timer. You only want to rest when you absolutely have to. You want to have access to things like stamina potions, one of the best early access items in the game, and the cards that you can play in order to do like a really impressive action, but they require you to permanently remove that card from your pool. Those you want to reserve for either emergency scenarios or towards the end of the scenario that you're playing, because removing that from your pool early on has a significant impact in how long you're going to be able to stay alive throughout this mission, and your team is going to need you. Which dovetails right into tip number 3. I know, loot is shiny. Treasure chests, you're definitely going to want to go after them. But coins, let's talk about coins for a second. Yes, money is pretty scarce in Gloomhaven, and you want to be able to get those coins in order to buy all those great things that you're going to get access to. I mean, you got to get those stamina potions somehow, right? But I would always discourage collecting coins unless you are doing it as a convenience as a result of doing some other tactically advantageous thing. There are going to be situations in which you don't have something better to do, so might as well just go and loot a ton of coins at once. But in general, because time is of the essence and you don't want to waste actions, you do not have the ability to just look for all the money that you could possibly squeeze out of a scenario. Money isn't worth losing a scenario over. Number 4 is to anticipate enemy behavior. If you think about the enemies in the game, they can be broken down into broad groups of melee or ranged enemies which have specific behaviors. You have a lot of information about the different types of enemies, what their capabilities are, as soon as you step into a scenario. And if you can anticipate what they can do, then you can take your turn based off of that. I've seen too many players try to take turns based off of getting the most damage out of their cards without really thinking about what are the consequences of their own positioning, where are enemies going to move to, and how can you take advantage of that enemy behavior. Can you get them trapped in a hallway? Can you kite them, bringing them closer for other players to be able to take further advantage of it? Even before you see what they're going to do, you can kind of anticipate what sorts of behaviors they could potentially be doing. And lastly, tip number 5, when you can, eliminate one enemy at a time. That longevity thing, yeah, cards are important, but also enemies are going to crush you. You need to be able to deal with that. And in this case, the best defense is often a good offense, or at least removing enemies from the table. And even if it does amount to a little bit of overspill in damage, you know, like doing more damage than you need to in order to kill an enemy, if it's a choice between doing 5 damage to an enemy who's going to survive, or doing a 5 damage attack that's a surplus of 2 against an enemy that will die, I would go for the enemy that's going to die, because that's limiting the potential reaction against you. Again, all of this is impacted based off of what the capabilities are of other players, the rest of your turn, what are the factors that you need to consider. But when all things are comparable, we're looking at apples to apples, then yeah, kill enemies one at a time if you can. And that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, if you have your own strategy tips, or you want to see these types of tips for other games, then we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald.